Hey, honey badgers. It's a little bit overcast today. It's a little bit on the cold side. It's not like freezing, but it's a little bit on the chillier side. I'm having kind of a slow day today. So I thought I would just do kind of a chill chitty chat vlog and talk about this little project I've been working through. Not talking about Coffee Girl under here. I do need to finish her. She is one of the ones that I'm gonna try to knock her out today, see how far I can get. Mostly what I have left on her is I have like this wash of 310 I need to get through on her, and then the rest is like a little bit of confetti on her sleeves and stuff that should go relatively quick. But yeah, I pushed her aside. Not for any reason for her, nothing against her, but I pushed her aside to try to get some other projects done. And you know how that goes. You know, you start pushing projects back and then you have this whip pile that's just insane. So I'm trying to go back now and try to catch up on ones that I had started previously. But in the meantime, I've also been starting a little bit of this organization project, trying to get a little bit more method to my madness in my work area. So I thought I would talk through a little bit of that and make a vlog out of it because, you know, I know sometimes people get sick of just seeing reels and hauls and stuff. And I think a lot of creators do that because it's easy content. But I get that, you know, as a watcher, you want more stuff, different stuff. Because I have seen that on as a comment on some other people's channels. When I go to watch their videos, I'll see comments on their videos and be like, do you actually do these canvases or do you just hoard them? So yeah, I thought I would do a little bit of a vlog here and talk about some of my behind the scenes process. So I've been working on better organizing my spare drills, and let me see if I can get here. So I didn't really mark the occasion for anything. I didn't like make a video about it or anything, but February of this year will mark 5 years of me doing diamond painting. I started just right before Valentine's Day of February 2020. Well, I count that as sort of my anniversary because that's technically when I finished my first canvas. I did a partial. I'll try to see if I can find it. I feel like I have the completion reel on my video or on my channel sometime far back. It was a partial done of a Lee Bogle Native American painting, and I'm a big fan of Lee Bogle's work, and that was one of the first canvases I found on Amazon, I think, and I immediately recognized the painting, and it was offered as a partial for, at the time, I think it was like $3 or something on Amazon, and I was like, oh hell yeah. Because my story with diamond painting, just real quick, is I originally discovered it, heard about it, actually in 2019, I believe, fall, winter-ish time, 2019, because I remember it was before the holidays, because I remember I was still married at the time, and I remember I was trying to do the whole like holiday hints with my ex at the time, being like, oh, this sounds cool, I might like some of this for the holidays, you know, like you do with your partner. But the thing that I realize now that I didn't quite have such a realization about back then is that with my ex, if it's not vitally important to him, he doesn't pick up on clues that quick. If it's not really, really important to him or a big interest to him specifically, you have to drill hints into him before you eventually wear him down, and he'll be like, fine, I'll do it for you, whatever. So I kept dropping the hints about the diamond painting until I got to the point where I was like, okay, I don't feel like he's gonna get the idea. Yeah, Christmas came around. There were no diamond paintings in the lot that year, even though that was kind of the biggest thing I was hinting at, because I was like, oh, this feels like something I could really get into. So I just decided prior to the holidays coming, because my birthday is also right before Christmas, so I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna buy the kits myself. So I bought a few kits for myself, and luckily I did that for me because I didn't get any from him that Christmas. And so I worked through those few ones I had at the time through January and February. Finally finished one around February because I was still sort of feeling it out and trying to figure out the tools and all that kind of stuff because it was new to me still, obviously, at that time. And then I really got into it, and I got really excited when I got one completed, and I was like, oh God, it looks so cool. You know, that excitement you get when you get your very first one done. And you're like, oh God, now I need all the kits. So yeah, he saw me getting excited about that, and then he started getting to the point where he was like, oh, this seems like something you're kind of into now. Months after the fact. But yeah, I count February as sort of my anniversary of diamond painting because that's when I completed my very first one. So since then, I have been saving all of my spare drills, and it's a good thing I do because I have, at this point, I have completed hundreds of kits, and I've had to do a lot of editing on the colors because some of them are hand plotted when you get kits. Some of them are what they call hand plotted, where you have a human behind it deciding where the colors go. But a lot of times, especially with the budget companies, they just run it through a computer program, and the computer decides what colors of drills should be there depending on what image you run through the program. And sometimes it's not realistic, the colors they come up with. If you look at it's the reel I just posted of the flower thoughts girl with the sunflower and the fence post and all that, whatever I called it. I'll link that below. But the one I just posted, the legs on her, the way it was actually graphed, were neon orange. And I know she's, you know, if you look at that picture, she's supposed to have a little bit of a tan on her legs. She's supposed to be a country girl. And, you know, realistically, it is a process most women go through trying to figure out our tone with the self tanners and stuff. And we all go through the period where we're looking a little orange because we haven't found our color yet that reacts to our skin properly. So yeah, you could argue that maybe she got into the self tanner a little bit heavy, but this was like orange. This was like creamsicle, bright popsicle orange on her legs. And so the color you see on her legs in that kit on my completed one, that's not the color that came with the kit. That's me going through my spare drills, trying to tone it down and trying to give her a little bit more realistic tan on her legs. So that's one useful thing about spare drills, and why I end up keeping them is because I end up doing so many of them and having to do so many edits that it's just nice to have a reliable supply to go to. But it's getting a bit much with the storage the way I was doing it. The way I was doing it was through these Harbor Freight boxes that a lot of us use, because when you're starting out, this is a really nice solution. And I thought I would this is one I haven't sorted out yet, but I thought I would show you what I was dealing with and why I decided I needed to do something different. So I started getting these at Harbor Freight 2 or 3 years ago, I think, to start sorting them. I think prior to that, I was just doing the shoving them in a big freezer bag storage system, and that wasn't really working. But that's the thing, is when you do crafts for a long time and you start doing them for years on end, over time you start adjusting as you go along, and you do one system for a while, but then you outgrow that, and so you try something else, and then you outgrow that. And that's kind of where I am with this. Is I've gotten to the point where I'm starting to outgrow, not the boxes entirely, but just the way I was using them. So when you get these kits, I don't know if I have one not unwrapped. I feel like I did maybe, but I don't have one absolutely nearby me. But when you get these from Harbor Freight, you get all these little boxes inside. I think I forget how many, I think there's like 28 or something little boxes that come with the big box. And so when you're starting out, and also if you're the type of diamond painter that you're just very casual about it and you only do like one every once in a while, this is still probably a great system for you. But like I said, with all of the kits I've done so far, doing it the way I was doing it, I'm starting to outgrow it, because this is what I was running into. I was starting to put them in the boxes, And then, admittedly, I got a little bit lazy. When I would complete kits, I would just sort of throw the extra ones on top. And then the other issue I ran into is color discrepancy, which I'll get into in a minute. But yeah, I just started throwing them on top. And then I would sort of, when I go to pull out a spare color that I would needed, I would kind of forget about the ones that were in the box. And then when I would go to sort colors or use colors that were in boxes, when I did think about it, I was realizing that the colors were hard to read when they were in the box. So using this one that I haven't sorted out yet, because I have a box set up for each color family. So I have one for blue and green, purple, and so on. And I've just been doing them, and I had them prior to me reorganizing this system. That was the way I was starting to do it. And I just got to where it was getting a little overwhelming. Yeah, I needed a better upfront visual of colors, better representation. So the problem I was running into is just with the different style of bags, and with the color discrepancy and all of that. So the color looks a little bit different from when you're looking through it in a bag, and then when you actually look through it through the plastic. Do you see how the plastic has a little bit of a fogginess to it? And you can open it up like this, but then comparison wise, it can be a little bit tricky. Obviously these are not the same color, but I'm just as an example of what I what I go through when I'm trying to find a color match. It can be a little bit tricky to find everything right on site, at first sight, whatever I'm trying to say here. When you look at it directly through the box versus through the bag. And then it occurred to me just like a few days ago, I don't know why it took me so long, but sometimes your brain works that way, where the obvious answer takes a minute to get to you because you're so cluttered up with, no, it has to be more complicated. And then finally your brain is just like, but it doesn't though. So yeah, it occurred to me just a few days ago that, Angie, maybe you don't need the boxes. maybe you could just do away with all these little boxes and just go to a bag system. So what I ended up deciding to do is I still use the Harbor Freight big box. I still find that pretty useful, but I got rid of all the little boxes out of my system, and I didn't throw them away. I've been, I've got little bags. I've just emptied them out and I put them in bigger bags. And what I'll end up doing is donating those. There's a thrift store down the road from my house that is attached to the animal shelter where I got one of my previous dogs. And the animal shelter thrift store there, they have it there. I think a lot of shelters probably do this now, where they have a little thrift store attached to where it's, when you don't have big funding, it is kind of a nice way for the community to come together and help raise money to, keep the animals safe and keep food going into the shelter and all of that. Because thankfully, not all of them, but most of the shelters in my area now have gone to no kill. So that makes me happy. So they need a lot more funding to keep food going and animal blankets and all that kind of stuff. So that's a lot of times, and I've found some, and it is a really nice thrift store over there. I have found some really cool stuff over there for my own house. So whenever I can, I try to donate back to them and keep the cycle going. And I figured with those little boxes, I can donate it over there. And there's probably some starting out jewelry maker in the area that could probably get a lot of use out of those little boxes. So that's probably what I'll end up doing with those, is donating over there. And then what I ended up doing as far as my new system, at least however long this lasts, and it's not fancy. It's not, I'll tell you right off the bat, this is not a fancy system, but it's going to work for me for now a lot better than the old system did, until I find something that maybe works a little bit better. So I just divided the box up like this. and used a little bit of cardboard. There's a couple boxes I have where I used some styrofoam I had, just whatever I have on hand right now. Because you know what? It's crafting. It doesn't have to be fancy when it's your organizational stuff. So I just ended up dividing the box into 3 sections. And what I've been doing, this is the yellow one I've been working on today. What I've been doing is basically sorting it out so that the darker colors are in the very back, the lighter colors are up front, and, you know, then sort of middle ground colors in the middle. And this box is relatively empty. I have it almost done, actually, even though it still looks pretty empty. I think it's because, I mean, I don't know. I don't have any like actual data behind this. It could just be relative to the canvases I pick out for myself. But I feel like yellow and green are the most underrepresented colors in diamond painting canvases across the board. Yes, you do find some every so often that are just a big wash of green or yellow, but in general, I feel like those are 2 color families that you don't see a lot of in most diamond paintings. I feel like a lot of diamond paintings rely pretty heavily on blue, black, brown. Every so often you get one that's a lot of red, maybe. So yeah, I don't have a ton of yellow spares. Another reason why I like to keep the extras is because when you're going through a canvas and you're so close to completion, and then maybe you get one that doesn't have quite enough drills, or maybe you want to switch out the color or something, you don't have to, if you have spare drills, you don't have to wait to go through the process of trying to contact the company you got the canvases from and trying to you know, talk to them about sending you more spare drills, or having to go through an outside company and get drills through them. You don't have to wait. It's just you already have it in stock. The caveat to that is you got to have space for it, I would say. That might be another reason why some people choose not to, is maybe people don't want to have the space eaten up. This is my like one big craft that I do. I've tried different things here and there, but I've let go of a lot of them because it's just not where my interest lies anymore. It's not where my attention is held. So I don't have a big yarn collection. I have a few cross stitch kits, but I've even phased out of a lot of that. I don't do what do you call them? Jigsaw puzzles. I don't have a bunch of puzzles. I don't have a bunch of board games. So this is big, and because of you know, my autoimmune stuff, I've mentioned in past videos that my edema has gradually affected some of my brain processing. So I pulled back. I used to be a massive reader. I used to be a book reviewer, all that, but I culled my massive library so much that yeah, I only have like a fraction of the books I used to have, because my brain doesn't allow me the focus for words anymore the way it used to. One of the side effects of my edema progressing is that it triggered my dyslexia to come back hardcore. After years of pushing back and getting around it and stuff, and it's really hard for me to, I can still read, but it takes me so much longer now than it used to, because of just the damage that's happened. That's also why sometimes when you hear me do videos, I try to cut it out a lot, but there are a lot of times where I have pauses, or I lose words, or I have big blanks, or I talk about brain fog. That's the effect of the edema messing with my, at least from what the doctors have told me, they believe it's messing with my brain processing, because it pushes up into, the fluid pushes up into my spinal column now. So yeah, so diamond painting is the thing that I put my attention into, because it is where I can feel like I have some reliable focus. So I have the space to do the organization like this, and once I'm done, it doesn't take up that much space. You know, I think overall I have 6 or 7 of these boxes total for all the different color families that I tend to work with. And then that's it. It just takes up one little corner of a desk I have to the side. It just sits under the desk when I'm not using that particular color family. So it doesn't eat up that much space. Most of my storage space is used up by storing the canvases themselves, you know. So yeah, this is what I've been doing. I've put a little piece of cardboard in there and took out all the boxes, put them back in bags, tried to put them into the color families best I could. Some of them are unmarked because they still look a little bit off as far as the color discrepancy. And when I'm talking about that, I thought I would show you these examples here because I've mentioned it in past videos about why I keep various bags of technically what's marked as the same color is because of drill color lot variations. So with these, I thought I would show you. These all came from different kits, and I marked the bags when I was done with the kits. So you can see this is marked as a 743, but this was also marked as a 743 DMC. But you can tell that is not the same color. But according to the computer, it is. 728 and then 728. So this is why I mentioned in a past video that I marked them, but then I would start marking them as like 728 dark, 728 mid, whatever. So that I could still use them, but then if I came across kits in the future that had that variation, I could put them closer with if they were in the lighter family or the darker family and just start storing them that way. Same thing with these 3822, 3822, but you have one that's darker. Or this one was pretty funny. Technically both 307, but this one is closer to like a dark mustard color and this one is a bright ass yellow. So yeah, that's why I started doing it that way. So I thought I would do a little bit of just a chatty video and talk through this in case somebody is kind of in this area of organizational freak out in their diamond painting journey. And thought, since I've been working this out myself, maybe this could be useful information to somebody. So yeah, I've just been doing a color at a time here and there. Because that is one thing, is if you take on a project like this, I recommend not trying to do all of the boxes or all of your collection all at once. It'll feel a little bit overwhelming, probably. So that's why I just tried to, and that's with anything you do really, as far as the organization, it's just best to take a little piece at a time. Also, if you were looking at this and wondering what this is the dryer sheet trick to help if you have static drills. So let me just clear this up real quick, put these back in the boxes, and then I thought I would also show you the dryer trick while I was here. Dryer sheet trick, I should say. That's to help with static drills. So I have a little bit container here that I just cut little pieces into. I don't actually use dryer sheets in my dryer. I do the dryer ball things. But my mom passed away a few years ago. My mom was a huge fan of dryer sheets. She would go through boxes and boxes of them. She just loved her fragranced towels and all of that. Prior to passing, she lived in one of those what do you call them? The retirement, not retirement, not the fancy retirement communities, but like the senior living community apartment complexes they have for people that are like, you know, veterans or restricted income, that kind of thing. She lived in one of those on the other side of town from me. And when she passed and I had to clean out her apartment, there was just so much stuff to go through, because I'm very much like, I'm not like a minimalist per se, but I'm very much like, if I haven't used it in a while, I'm okay to let go of it. I'm very much, I want everything to have a space. I don't mind having stashes of things, but I want them to have a space. I want them to have a designated spot they go to and everything to be organized and all of that. My mom was very much like a maximalist, borderline hoarder. She liked her tchotchkes and everything in massive quantity. So when I went to clean out her apartment, there was a lot of stuff to go through, and a lot of it was unopened. And so I ended up donating that to a lot of the people and her friends and stuff that were just in the apartment building, because I knew a lot of them were on limited incomes. So she had like boxes and boxes of dryer sheets that I ended up just passing out to the building. Which I had to do. I remember this a little side story. I had to do kind of secretly, because there was a lady that lived in the building that was, she was considered kind of like the superintendent in the building, where she, monitored everything. It almost felt like when I was in college and we had the hall monitor person, a resident, or the RA person. She kind of felt like that. The RA from my old dorm building that took their job very seriously. But she didn't like, I don't know why she had an issue with it, but for some reason she took big issue with people helping each other out in the building, and trying to, like, donate stuff to each other. I don't know. It's like she would get all uppity about me bringing stuff over to people. So I had to do it a little bit on the sly. I'm like, well, I'm going to do it anyway, because I know these people need this stuff. So I ended up donating a lot of stuff, but this was the last box my mom was in the middle of, and like I said, my mom passed away a few years ago, and I don't use dryer sheets, so that's why I still have this. But the dryer sheets still work as far as doing the non-stick stuff. So, and I'm almost out of them, as you see, because I've been getting a lot of packages of drills recently that have had a lot of the static cling on them for some reason. But yeah, I figured I would show you. I think I got these from the Dollar Tree years ago. I haven't actually, I think since the pandemic started, I've been to the Dollar Tree maybe once or twice. So yeah, a lot of the stuff I have from them is from years and years ago. So I don't know if these are still in there. But I thought I would show you. So basically what I do is I just take this, and I kind of use the lines as a border, and I just cut down. And there's no exact sizing to this. Basically, I take a size of that, and then I cut this down lengthwise again, and then go into little squares. Almost like, do they still make those? I don't even know. Do you guys remember the, I don't remember the company that made them, but there were those little, like, they used to sell them with the gum and stuff. Those little, like, minty strips that you were supposed to put on your tongue as, like, a gum alternative. I can't remember, fresh strips or something like that. I can't remember what they were called. But they came in, like, a little plastic envelope container looking thing that they used to sell in, like, the gum aisle. I don't even know if they still make those. But if you remember those, like, the breath strip size pieces is kind of what I'm going for in this. And for me, that seems to be the perfect size for sticking into a little bag like this. And I just keep a stash of those in this little container on my workspace over here, so that I don't put them in every bag, but every so often when I come across some that are a little bit clingy, stage 5 clinger, I'll do a little bit of a dryer sheet in there. And I also use them in my larger containers. Do I have one here? I think I've also mentioned this in past videos. When I get a lot of a certain color, like I think now I have this for certain browns and blues. When I get a ton of a color, I just move it to a big jar. So I have one for $8.23. I have a big jar for $9.39, $3.10. I just started one recently for $8.19, which is a light pink color. I've got a jar for $5.50 because I started doing a lot of that. And then also the 3865 general white background color. So the ones that tend to be in a lot of bulk background colors, like I think this is here. With this kit here, I think this is all the 310 that came with this kit that I'll have to break down in a little bit. So I obviously have a big jar or two of 310 because that's, you know, typical background color. So I use them in the jar containers too. And again, not a fancy system. I just hold, whenever I get a decent sized jar from whatever, coffee, pasta sauce, jellies, whatever, I'll clean it up and put it aside for this purpose. But again, that's another thing where if you have the space to do that. I'm not trying to advocate massive hoarding amongst the crafting community. Although, you know, I know it's crafters. It tends to happen sometimes when you get into things. But it's not just crafters, you know. It's also with people that, you know, get into anything, I guess, like Legos or working on cars or whatever. Like, it's just, you get into a craft, whether it's like this kind of craft or whatever you're doing in your garage, you know, it's, supplies end up hoarding themselves after a while. What are you gonna do? I guess that's it. That's all I had for this video. I thought I would just share and do a little bit of a chit chat, like I said, just mix it up a little bit different content. My energy levels have been kind of going in and out lately, so that's kind of why I haven't been doing a lot of content other than the hauls and the shorts, because a lot of times I'm just kind of like, I just want to keep to myself until I feel better. But I've been feeling pretty good today, so I thought I would just do this sort of random, as I'm working on this kind of chit chat video. And if you got anything out of this, I'm happy, even if it was just a little bit of company. So yeah, I'm gonna work on this one today, try to get the rest of this knocked out with a lot of the 310, and hopefully get this up tomorrow sometime, maybe. But that's all I have for this one, so thanks for stopping by, and we will talk soon.